Hi everybody, it's Elron, Space Between the Notes, and I'm going to try and do something that I've been wanting to do for a long time now, which is to go over some of the cards in the Spirit Doodle cards deck. Let's see if I can do this. Hello, yeah, kind of. Yeah. I guess I wanted to read from the book and sort of talk about the card, and let's see how this is going to go. I'm super tired. My week has been insane with concerts and teaching, but I'm sort of getting the message that I should do this to help myself, to maybe help somebody out there. I know that I'm having a really hard time reading lately because I just opened the book and I fall asleep after reading 2 lines. And I really enjoy Audible and I enjoy listening to people's videos. And that sort of keeps me more alert and more, I guess, multitasking. You can do a lot of things while you're listening. So, without further ado, I'm going to read to you the entry from the book about card 25. Keep it simple. Yeah, I shuffled the cards, and this is the card that came out, the card that wants to go first. So there are 3 quotes here. The first one is by Leonardo da Vinci, and it says, "Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication." How true is that? And then the second one is from Lao Tzu, who says, "I have just 3 things to teach: simplicity, patience, compassion. These 3 are your greatest treasures." So I definitely have the compassion bit down. I'm lacking in patience and simplicity. And that's PT jumping off the chair. Okay, the third quote, because come on, who can deal with just 2 quotes? 3 quotes, is Steve Jobs, and I love this one. He says, "That's been one of my mantras: focus and simplicity. Simple can be harder than complex. You have to work hard to get your thinking clean to make it simple. But it's worth it in the end, because once you get there, you can move mountains." And I keep thinking of the beautiful logos and design of the Apple product. So he clearly was living up to his word. Okay, the next bit is what I wrote about this card. "On the one hand, I'm sure that, like me, you're sick and tired of being sold simplistic explanations to complex issues. Quote, 'It's stress, just relax,' or 'it's the law of attraction.' Really? It would be like me telling my students that the way to conquer a difficult passage is just by just breathing. No, it's not that simple. On the one hand, there's no need to make a problem more complicated than it actually is. That will just make it insurmountable and will prevent us from delving in. It takes a lot of awareness to find that magical balance point." Yeah. "I usually find myself on the overly complicated side of things." No kidding. I like layers of multi-dimensional explanations. I enjoy chewing on things and trying different solutions. What I do not like is simplification, because it strips away the interesting layers of a situation. But I also know that I have a problem when I can't step away from the complexity of an issue and find ease. Try to imagine yourself as a carpenter with untouched pieces of wood. Simplicity is not just admiring the wood without working on it. That isn't simplicity, that's avoidance. True simplicity is the ability to efficiently make a beautiful piece of furniture with as little frustration and aggravation as possible. That takes time and experience. This doodle for me shows our mind's ability to use confusion to trap simplicity. But our minds also have the ability to get simplicity free. I think an interesting thing to point out is that when I drew this, the inner shape is what happened first. And of course, I just couldn't leave it. I had to go crazy on the sidelines. And of course, that's when the black shapes appeared on the side. So even the birth of this card is sort of a mini manifestation of this issue of just keep it simple. I couldn't keep it with just the inner shape. I had to make it more complicated. So back to the book. When this card comes up, you're likely making things harder than they need be. Remember, according to Occam Razors, the simplest explanation tends to be the right one. Making a situation more complicated than necessary won't make it better, and oversimplifying it won't make it true. The next bit is what my guides channeling session Higher Self said about this. Here we go. At your core, you believe that complexity is more valuable than simplicity. The more complex something is, the more value it has. That is not true. A flower is simple and beautiful without being complicated. You seem to find an inner sense of value when you can say that your problems are complex, that you're complex. It gives you satisfaction to know that at least there is value in your suffering, when in reality, it is unnecessary. The need to complicate or to give added value to something should be eradicated. Let that go. With simplicity as your friend, you will achieve more and be much happier. Complexity is draining you. Simplicity gives you energy to continue. Which would you prefer? Simplicity, oh, they know me, my guys, don't they? Yeah. Simplicity is a condition in which things appear in their truest form and are there for you to acknowledge and learn from. Einstein said it. Everything should be made as simple as possible, though not simpler. Love is simple, and you're simple, and life is simple. You do not need an encyclopedia to understand it. But you do need to let go of the need to contort it. There is a joy in simplicity that you have yet to discover. Simplicity involves the joy of knowing what it is to just be, without either needing to prove your worth or justify your existence. Create a simple existence that celebrates the joy of being alive and of the things you love. Oh boy. So, and then I list the correspondences. So we start with the prompt was, keep it simple, don't complicate it. It's a message that I've been getting a lot because I tend to not keep it simple. Keywords. Look at the obvious answer first. Then what do I get from complicating this? And simple isn't stupid. I think all of those are very important messages for me. It reminds me of when I did my doctoral exam. The best advice that I got was state the obvious first when you're asked a question. And of course, they can ask you anything about anything in music, and you're supposed to answer. And of course, there's no way that you would ever know everything there is to know. So the tactic was that when you were asked a question, you would answer the most obvious thing that came to mind. And of course, to me, that was sacrilege. I had to come up with an original thesis, something original to say, something interesting. And of course, that's not the best way to go about it. The best way to go about it was to state the obvious first. So for me, that's a very powerful message. The shadow aspect of this card is oversimplification, which I think is definitely a problem. It's what Einstein was talking about. Don't make it simpler than what it actually is. Dumbing down things, overcomplicating, of course, is the other extreme, and egotism. Emotion when you get the card, tied up in knots. And I don't know about you, but this definitely looks to me like being tied up in knots. And just so you know, that emotion part that came after I drew it. So I don't know, this is interesting. Okay, emotion to develop, ease and joy. Affirmation, I find ease now. The self-care activity, start by eliminating variables. What can be taken off the list? What part of this issue can be delegated, postponed, or broken down? What part requires immediate action? Complexity is usually the result of several variables colliding with one another. If you keep the variables separate, then the simpler answer will emerge. Ask yourself, what are you resisting by complicating things? Yeah, I think that's really important, and you'll see. I'll talk about that more in a second. Then the music correspondences I list, and of course this is a very limited list, but it includes Bach Prelude in C major for for piano or harpsichord, and the prelude from the G major cello suite. Mozart's piano variations on Twinkle Twinkle, which is the French song Au vous dirige maman. And Regina Spektor's Samson, which is one of the songs I love. It's so beautiful. I listed Peggy Lee's performance of Fever because there's basically just a melodic line and a rhythm section. So there is no harmony in the text. And to me, that song is so powerful and so captivating. It's so simple, but it carries such a punch. And then I also list Chopin Preludes 4 and 7, Opus 28, because literally in number 4, it's just a set of chords in the left hand and a melody, and the melody is a single note. So you can't really call it a melody, but it serves a melodic line. And again, he just makes so much with that, bare minimum. And Prelude number 7 is literally 2 lines. He wrote 2 lines, and that prelude is so famous that, go figure. Simplicity can get you pretty far. And that, if you're interested, go to the playlists and look for Card 25, and these are in there. Then the last list of correspondences, tree, I put the beech tree, date tree, and cherry, because that made sense to me. The animal is a dog, because that is as simple as it gets, the love of your canine friend. Element for me is earth. Stay grounded, keep it simple, take it down. Chakra, I wrote that if things are complicated, it means that one or more of the energy centers is out of balance. So simplicity requires that we let go of the excess energy that is preventing progress. And so I guess it's personal where you feel that it's hitting you. The crystals I've listed are smoky quartz, clear quartz, mookaite, and blue lace agate. And I actually have Mr. Mookaite right here. And I love this guy. I don't know, it's like holding a mini elephant, like a best friend, and just very grounding, very loving energy. Love this guy. It's Mr. Mookaite, which is a kind of jasper, by the way. Then the guides are J.S. Bach, because, Schubert, Mozart. For those of you who don't know classical music, these guys are obviously phenomenal composers, and by putting them on this list, I'm not suggesting that they're not capable of creating very complicated masterpieces, but they were also capable of writing very simple, how can I say that, melodic lines. And I guess what I'm trying to say, they packed a lot into certain pieces that on the surface would look very simple, but they really aren't. That was not very articulate, but hopefully you get what I mean. Other guides, your inner child will tell you what to do. The painter Piet Mondrian, and if you know his paintings, they're I now realize that in retrospect that they were very inspirational and actually found their way to the duels, because what he does, it's basically a bunch of straight lines and boxes, and the boxes are colored in yellow, red, primary colors, or blue with black lines. And to me, that is the peak of simplicity. And again, just so much content in there. So go look, Google Pierre Mondrian and look at his paintings. So I wrote, who knew that something as simple as lines, colors, and shapes can become so beautiful and moving? I list Virgo and Capricorn as possible guides, and I would also at this point add Taurus. I think Tauruses can also be, the earth signs can be very good guides in trying to keep it simple. And also the tarot pages, because of their innocence. The extra here is pick up Marie Kondo's The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, The Japanese Art of Decluttering and Organizing, or watch her show on Netflix. Decluttering is a great way to find simplicity. So that was the entry in the book. And so I pulled 2 cards. One is to what I need to stop complicating, and the other card was how to fix that, how to stop complicating it. And look what I pulled. So this is what I'm complicating. Funny, right? Yeah, I thought so. So what's complicated? Obviously what's complicated, let's put him here. What's complicated is that I'm working on several different concert programs at the same time. I have a lot of students. I have big projects coming up, and it just doesn't stop. It's a little bit like all of these little pieces, all the swirly things. And yeah, I don't think there's a way to simplify it, but there must be a way to not complicate it beyond what it actually is. And you're seeing PT there in the corner. Yeah, so definitely for me, what needs to be kept simple is how I deal with all this repertoire and projects that I'm working on. And another aspect of it is when I practice, I tend to look for multidimensional. I'm not saying this right. When I'm practicing, I like layers. So I do a layer where I analyze the piece. I do a layer where I look at the technical aspects of the piece. I do a layer where I'm looking for the emotional content of the piece. And I can keep on going like that and give you at least, 20 to 50 tools that I could use on any given piece. And that, of course, takes time and energy, and we don't always have that time. So I think what this card is telling me that maybe I don't need 50 layers, maybe I can deal with 10 and it's still going to be okay. So maybe simplify that. The answer that they sent me, I thought was a little ambiguous because I got the Embrace Abundance card as the solution. I'm not really sure how to interpret it here, except to say that if I embrace all of the million things that I'm engaged in and all the million pieces that I have to practice, and instead of fighting it, I accept it and embrace it, they will find an easy, simple place to be instead of colliding into one another. So that's one way of understanding it. Another one is that maybe the solution needs to be based on I would say money issues, but more about like what I can sustain and what I don't need to sustain. And if I can let go of some miscellaneous projects or pieces, that maybe I would be able to ease the load a bit. So yeah, I think that's what I want to say about this card. For me, it was, I'm sure that every creator says this, that there are cards that they really, really love and cards that they created that they have issues with. This is definitely a card I have an issue with. I'm not thrilled with the image, or maybe it hits me exactly where it needs to hit me, where I wanted to make it simple, and of course it came out completely jumbled. Let's pull them out again. So maybe that's one aspect of it. Two, it's the fact that it's still one of my life issues to try and keep things simple and not too complicated. PT wants to say hi to me now. Hi, PT. Is there anything else I want to say about this? No, leave comments below if you want to share how you choose to complicate your life and not keep things simple. Let me know if you like this, me reading out loud chapters from the book and talking about the cards. And I miss you all, and I hope to connect with everybody. And until next time, bye. Have a great week. Ciao.